this talk was on gut flora. Because of everything that happened with COVID, there is about a third of it has now been added. So I'm going to go a little faster over some of what I want to do with gut flora in order to address what is unique about COVID, the mitigation, pertinent history, and you're going to see as you understand the importance of your gut flora and health, how some of the mitigation, which is intended to help us, I'm going to let you be the judge on what you think it does to natural immunity, which is our best defense. And it worked. Okay, that's simply the flyer you read. And our objectives are, what is the symbiotic relationship between humans and microbes? We're going to identify prebiotic and probiotic sources. That is what got majorly cut down. I'll show you, there'll be show and tell, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of those foods. Why? It's to be able to go into more detail exactly how this fits into how we boost our immune system specific to COVID and the pandemic. I added, which is not on your flyer, you're going to see stress plays a major role for gut health, for general immune system. And so I added a little bit more on that so you can see just how pivotal. One of the main things I see any practitioner do when Dan introduced me, yes, what we share is a incredible respect for the human body, its potential, and understanding that body, mind, and spirit cannot be separated. So as a practitioner, one of my philosophies is if you cannot instill hope, get out of the way. That principle, you're going to see how important it is as I speak more, and exactly the miracle of our stress response and how we need to respect it and learn how to handle it. Important for your immune system. Okay, so one of the things I enjoy doing is making the complex simple. Basics: healthy individuals equal a healthy society. You treat disease and you support health. If you have not seen the movie WALL-E, I would invite you to go see it. I think these are 3 flyers on the movie WALL-E, and one of the things is our disappointing future. Are we there? First, understanding the symbiotic relationship. This is actually a slide that Governor Cuomo had used. It's a study done on New York. Why am I starting with that? Because as you understand the comorbidities that have been most prevalently associated with severe outcomes with COVID, as you hear me talk about what a healthy gut and stress system does, you're going to see how they are completely related. First, the major comorbidities found from 57,000 patients hospitalized in New York, hypertension was the comorbidity in 56.6% of the people, obesity 41, and diabetes 33. Those were the 3 leading comorbidities. Very important. 94% of people with serious comorbidities who had to be hospitalized had one comorbidity. 88% had 2 or more. We often focus on age. I sort of see age as coincidence. Does it not make sense? If you have a comorbidity, it's going to get worse with age. Healthy aging does not have high comorbidities, and therefore you are not at higher risk, would be my summary of that. The median age in New York was 63. You may have heard, it's often people over 70 do the worst, but the key factor to remember is it's comorbidities, and that's what you want to avoid. So let me summarize that important point. What we find with COVID, healthy people tend to do well with very minor symptoms. If you have significant comorbidities, you tend to get sick. Now, if we sit back and just heard that statement, I believe it's a basic assumption we have over health, period. The COVID virus happens to be actually very merciful if you are basically healthy. So the goal, I would think, is to be healthy. So the first question is, what % of all of the cells in and on the human body do you think are microbial? Is it 90%? 75% microbial, 25% human? Are we 50%, 50-50? Are we 10% human or 90% microbial? The answer is we are 90% microbial. Now, any organism which is 90% microbial, I would think that to have a better understanding of the importance of those microbes might be a basic human survival skill, and at the very least, you would want to respect them. Where do most of those microbes live? They're in our gut. So technically, I did say in or on. Therefore, technically, they are in our gut, which is external to our body, correct? From your mouth to your intestines to the anus, that is an external space. But that's where most of your microbes live. And the further down you go into the large intestine, the more microbes you have. And they're essential. Anywhere from 70 to 90% of your immune response is based on a healthy gut microbial. Hippocrates, the father of medicine. I used to say modern medicine, but I don't anymore because I do not believe Hippocrates would claim this. He believed in the natural healing process of rest, good diet, fresh air, hold that thought, and cleanliness. He noted that there are individual differences, so doctors had better treat people individually and not as a large group. Some people get more serious symptoms and others are better able to cope. I think that's our experience. We've seen that. And all diseases begin in the gut was actually one of his quotes. So he believed firmly in a respect for a healthy gut. We have over 1 trillion bacteria that we know of that live in adults. Humans have about 23,000 genes. The microbial population on us contributes 3,300,000. And these microbes are very busy working for us. At one point, the talk was called Your Personal Pharmaceutical. How do you get a good, healthy immune system? Well, it starts when you are born. A vaginal delivery has very different microbes that is being implanted into the child than a C-section. Breastfeeding also has major benefits in terms of microbial population for the baby. And then, of course, you let your kids play in clean dirt. And I do mean clean dirt, not near a farm that sprays a lot of pesticides and herbicides. Clean dirt. We live in harmony with the bacteria in nature and prosper when we are in balance. Vaginal deliveries have a high population of lactobacillus, proventula. C-sections have staphylococcus, and some of those words I can't pronounce. Those are essentially bacteria that are left behind in the C-section room in the hospital. Not the best start. It is very important for C-section moms to be sure to breastfeed, and at some point that would be optimal because the baby needs some of the natural bacteria. At 1 to 6 months, we start growing bifidobacteria and lactobacillus, again, for the breastfed. And at 6 to 24, there's a split. The bacteria that are more from solid foods, you could call it high fiber. Firmicutes, more carbs. There you're going to see very dramatic shift in our American diet where we have reached an imbalance. We need both. We absolutely need both. But oh my, do we not need as many firmicutes as we've been growing. And you're going to see what happens from that. Okay. We have co-evolved with microbes. This is another science source I introduced because I wanted to go a little heavier with immune system. The gut microbia goes beyond just what grows in the gut. There is a symbiotic relationship, and it grows both your innate immune response and how you respond to foreign things outside. So it is able to differentiate. That is the main point. It can tell the difference between friendly and not friendly. And how does it tell the difference? Exposure. We must be exposed. Children have to be exposed for their bodies to actually be able to tell the difference. Firmicutes, you see on one side, and the other side, bacteria. Here's the main message. Firmicutes love sugar. No surprise that people who eat a lot of sugar are hungry. They gain weight more. It actually makes you resistant to leptin and insulin resistance. hence you're more prone to diabetes. No surprise there either. Bacteriodets, on the other hand, eat fiber, and when they do, they make short-chain fatty acids. The active ingredient is really not the fiber, it's the short-chain fatty acid, which, by the way, is found in grass-fed butter and fat from grass-fed animals. That's a natural source of short-chain fatty acids, good quality. What does that do for you? It makes it hard to accumulate fat. You burn it easily. It boosts calorie burning. It makes you feel satisfied. Leptin is the hormone that makes you feel satisfied. It makes you very sensitive to it, and it makes you sensitive to insulin. Hence, you might inherit a gene for diabetes, but if you don't eat a lot of sugar, there's a good chance you're not going to turn that gene on. And that is the main thing I do in the clinic. I help people naturally restore health by turning off the genes that they may or may not have inherited and become healthy again. There's a whole class on that, epigenetics. Okay, adult colonization pattern and disease. You need a balance. People with more allergies have more proteobacteria. We found the population of them is very high. People who've been on antibiotics, the bacteriodets go down and firmicutes go up. Remember, firmicutes like sugar. Obesity, low bacteriodets, high firmicutes. Also, that situation happens to be very pro-inflammatory, and my background's cardiology. Inflammation is the main problem for heart disease. That is the huge problem. I was going to have the book, The Big Fat Surprise. We are sort of reliving what we relived when we went way wrong with how we ate our fats. The book, The Big Fat Surprise, talks you through that. It shows you government, regulatory agents, scientists, doctors, what happened in the world and in our society that actually started encouraging the use of trans fats instead of saturated fats. You probably know fats are one of the worst fats. They're the most inflammatory. And we told everyone to give up butter in place of trans fat. I use the word we lightly. I actually didn't. What I used to tell my patients is, I don't believe you eat fat for the sake of eating fat. I think you like the flavor. So eat real butter, because at least I know what that is, and go light. It was right. Don't be afraid of nature. You don't have to justify natural immunity. You don't have to justify breathing, by the way. The effects of bariatric surgery, we have found, actually lowers firmicutes and raises bacteriodets. In other words, a condition that is not conducive to obesity. Type 2 diabetes, we have found that, again, people who have obesity and diabetes, the bacteria plays a big role, and what we have found there is they have a lower amount of total bacteria. So amount of bacteria is important, not just the type. Oh, and by the way, we are all unique. No two people are the same. Who's the most alike? People who live together in the same home. That'll become important when I give you an example of something that's happened in modern society. Gut immune system. Again, 79% of our immune response is from the gut. It can prevent infections, allergies, autoimmune diseases, and inflammation and leaky gut, which I'll talk about a little bit later. How to keep a strong immune system, plant healthy bacteria. How the kids did it, so do we. People who garden, we've long known they're healthier. I think part of the reason is their hands are in healthy dirt. I hope they don't use too much herbicides or pesticides. So grow the good ones, avoid killing them. You can't fool Mother Nature. Okay. This is another source that I came across in upping the immune piece of this talk. This physician recommends 4 things to build a healthy gut. 1, know your telltale signs of a healthy gut. Example, it is not normal to have a lot of gas, bloating, stomach pain, tired, be irritable, and get skin breakout after you eat a certain food. That would be called a sensitivity or possibly an allergy to some things. You need to, you just don't tolerate it. You have to start correlating. That's a big thing we teach, a major success factor for keeping a healthy body after you lose the weight here. You want to become in tune with your body, and if something makes you sick, you know, maybe it's time to cut it loose. Food for thought, trillions of microorganisms inhabit, God bless you, your skin, nose, and mouth. That will become important, by the way, in COVID. You want healthy bacteria in your nose and mouth. You do not want the unhealthy ones. But if some of the unhealthy ones get in and you have a rich population of the healthy, guess what? You're probably not going to get sick. Okay, the next thing they said, eat proactively with probiotic foods. I'll have a very brief section on that. And reduce stress. Stress. I'm going to have a whole slide that I use for my relaxation class that I introduced on stress, because stress is pivotal to a healthy microbial gut and to your basic health and well-being. I'm sure you've had an experience where you've been very stressed, you survived the stress, and then soon after you become ill. Well, what's with that? It suppressed your immune system. You temporarily suppressed it. What is one of the worst things you can do to your immune system? Prolonged stress. That's right. We're going on 5 months now with the mitigation. I think so. I think we're suffering from prolonged stress. So reduce the stress, important for gut health, mood, sleep. Exercise, key to reduce stress and to help build the healthy microbes. I believe somebody somewhere along the line called gyms and activity outside unessential. I think that's the word. I think they were wrong. Use yoga and breathing, long walks, breathing. Breathing is an essential thing for relaxation. And I'm going to point out something very important of what's going on with overuse of masks. And avoid antibiotics when you can. Okay, here's the relaxation response. So we know stress reduces gut flora overall. We know a reduced number of gut flora makes you more prone to infection. Okay, so here is my relaxation. The miracle of our stress response. It is awesome. It makes us capable. It is distress that is the problem. So it starts by your mind becoming aware of a challenge. That awareness, you already are producing hormones that increase analgesia. Now, another way to say it is you are capable of being focused. Your body's limitations will not stop you from doing something. Example, you hear of people who've been in accidents and their loved one is in danger. They grab their loved one, they run to safety. The car is now on fire, and then they found out they had a broken arm. Well, how did they carry the person? The analgesia from the stress response. Know what you want and stay focused. Then the hypothalamus makes corticotropin releasing hormone. It doesn't matter that you know the name of the hormone. It matters greatly that you know what it does to you. It makes you alert or alarmed, depending on what you choose. The anterior pituitary makes ACTH, increases learning. Yes, you can cram for an exam and make it. Your body will create the chemicals. You can do a race and almost crash. You'll get your second, your third, your fourth wind. Your mind directs what your body's making. You don't have to know what it's doing. It knows what it's doing. Now, remember I told you diabetes and hypertension early on, key comorbidities that were causing big problems with COVID, being able to cope with it. The adrenal gland, epinephrine, norepinephrine, blood pressure, pulse go up, breathing goes up, and you're more sharp, you focus, and sugar goes up. So if you have diabetes, the stress response will increase sugar. Diabetics are not to be kept stressed. We are keeping them stressed. We're putting them in the worst shape ever to cope with this. Oh, we also have cortisol going. Now blood pressure and breathing goes up. There goes the glucose and fat going up some more. At this point, if you have too prolonged cortisol, you will lose resiliency and coherency. In other words, you won't be able to think. Scared people don't think very well. We're seeing that. Adrenal glands. You also make DHA, which increases DHEA, increases resiliency and coherency, ability to think, should you so choose. Pancreas decreases insulin, increases glucagon. Are you getting the idea that stress, diabetes, hypertension, they travel together? I used to think why hypertension is a comorbidity. There are several reasons we're already aware of. One of them, hypertension goes up if you have prolonged stress. You're suppressing your immune system. Kidneys, renin-angiotensin, aldosterone go up. Again, blood pressure, salt and water. Vasopressin increases learning and blood pressure. My goodness, I think we have at least 4 times blood pressure goes up and sugar's already gone up 3 times. Now you are at peak performance and you just might make the mistake and think that you can't handle this. Oops, now you're making too much hormones. That is called the deer in the headlights overwhelmed, but don't worry about it. If you become aware of your body's stress symptoms, you can breathe, one of the most effective ways to relax. Second one, open your eyes wide and see what's going on. You will reverse the chemicals and you'll be right back up to peak performance. So stress is vital to decrease the impact of diabetes and hypertension on your COVID resiliency. You will make it worse. No, all diabetics do not get severe COVID symptoms. Neither do all hypertensive. What I think is one of the differences, stress. Are you in, or do you have it managed? Do you have it managed? Okay. This, I'm actually going to skip. I said a few things with that. It'll come up a little later. Evidence-based medicine starts with normal biology. When we talk science, unfortunately in medicine, we begin to think research done by pharmaceuticals. No, that's a little piece. Real science started with biology, chemistry, studying normal life. So I'm going to give you a lot today about normal life. Each person does have their own set of microbes. What you eat makes a big difference. The whole food is better than the parts, the sum of the parts. Avoid toxic chemicals because it will lower your microbes. We at 1.8, according to culture, according to family. Then we introduced expert opinion, we introduced guilt, regulations, and we gave you improved foods. Remember the margarine? It's improved. No, it wasn't. Remember margarine. Okay. New research reveals a lack of science, and that would be found in the fat surprise. Why am I saying it? Because I think we're going to find an incredible lack of science in most of the new mitigations. It's an experiment. It's not science as you think in terms of proven science. And I'll give you examples. How has food changed in the United States? We refrigerate it, we sterilize it, we pasteurize it. We pasteurize means lose bacteria. Milk pasteurization, you are seeing more lactose intolerance, but you can buy lactate. GMO foods often are made genetically changed so they can tolerate more Roundup. Well, glyphosate is known for being very destructive to your gut and gut microbes. Common terms, why is this a big thing on your immune health? Well, a probiotic is a living organism, okay? The therapeutic probiotics are the bacteria, the viruses, the yeast, the things we know about, and we learn to use them therapeutically. When you take a probiotic pill, that's what you're getting, a biotherapeutic agent, but there are many more bacteria out there. A prebiotic is a food that feeds the probiotic. Remember, the bacteroidetes like fiber. So things high in fiber feed healthy bacteria. Microbes are small living organisms, bacteria, yeast, viruses. Colonization resistance, you want that. You want that. Large populations of beneficial microbes provide a strong barrier against foreign invaders by competing with space and food. Hence, about 2 years ago, there was a major movement saying, stop using all the hand sanitizers, use soap and water. Number one, we're hard on our skin. Number two, we are killing off the bacteria we need. You really want to wash surfaces more with soap and water because you don't want to destroy the healthy microbes. They're working for you. They're working for you 24 hours. Hostile takeover is when the invading microbe was at a high enough quantity to cause illness, okay? You need a viral load. That is a very important concept. A little bit of a virus will spark an immune response. If you're healthy, and especially with COVID, 50% of people have no symptoms. The exact percentage varies depending on how the data is coming in, but it's about 50%, zero symptoms. You want some virus so that you can create your own immunity and resilient. And COVID is not, this one is a unique COVID strain, but COVID is not new. So our immune system is capable of recognizing pieces of the other COVID family on the new one and often destroying the new. So this assumption that we will have no defense against COVID was actually mistaken because our immune system, being as resilient as it is, has been able to identify pieces of it. And for many people, they don't get sick. Hygiene hypothesis. Well, we're there. We've been there and we're there even more. It suggests that dramatic increase in autoimmune and inflammatory diseases over the last 50 years are because of our exposure, changes in exposure to microbes, specifically overuse of sanitizers. There's the reason hospitals have more of the resistant strains of bacteria. I know you have to have a sterile operating room, but doing it over and over in other spaces, which we're doing now, let's just say resistant organisms are having a field day. And that's going to be the next problem our society has to deal with, because we've gotten rid of a lot of our helpful colonization resistance. Services of the microbes. They're key in making nutrients and getting nutrients out of food. They prevent leaky gut, which I'm going to tell you more about because that's a key problem area if you don't have good microbes. They actually synthesize vitamins for you. So they don't just get it out of your food, they make some, which is just crazy cool, which is why I call them our personal pharmaceutical. They also synthesize immune response. They're also active in gene expression. This is just a picture. The left shows a lot of microbes. The right shows not so much when there's antibiotic use. Generally speaking, after antibiotic use, you take a probiotic for 1 to 2 months to try to replenish it. It can be a pill, it can be real, it can be food. Leaky gut, very important. Here's a picture. I'm gonna go to this one. Those are the normal lining in the gut. You get inflammation when the mucous membrane, the mucus, not membrane, when mucus diminishes or becomes of poor quality. It's not runny. I mean, it could become thick. By the way, that's true for your respiratory tract. You don't want it thick, you want it runny. So when that mucous membrane doesn't protect you, you get inflammation inside the gut. After a while with the inflammation, you break down the glue that holds the lining together, and that brings us to the bottom picture, and you get leaky gut. Why do you care? Well, you're supposed to be extracting nutrients through your GI tract. If you have leaky gut, you are actually now getting particles of food, not the nutrients. And what does your body do when a foreign particle is seen? It starts an immune response. Hence, you become leaky gut leads to food intolerances. You just don't feel good. Then you can get allergies. And then you start getting immune abnormalities right down to autoimmune diseases like diabetes and rampant inflammatory diseases. Those bacteria, the microbes, are very key to keeping a healthy mucous membrane, which keeps your gut healthy. As goes and glyphosate has been known to be damaging to the tight junctions inside the gut, otherwise known as creating leaky gut. Okay, the causes, many. Too much sugar, refined foods, high alcohol consumption. Oh, I highlighted in red, why? During the mitigation, I had a few patients be gone for a little bit and they come back. Many stayed focused, God bless them. Some actually, because of the nervousness, went back to sugar and some alcohol. That's the worst for your gut health, the worst for your immune system, okay? So the mitigation promoted behaviors which weakens a healthy person's immune system, actively weakens the healthy person's immune system, not to mention from the stress. Stress is one of the things that causes leaky gut, so does insomnia. They both cause cortisol to go up, and when I showed you the stress response, cortisol is one of those chemicals that in excess becomes very prone to causing hypertension, diabetes, insomnia. It's a problem. Okay, enough there. As goes the gut, so goes the brain. You probably know that already. I don't know about you, but I can work through several illnesses, but not if I have nausea. That just doesn't work well. Problem is more than just the gut. The brain is actually simulating the gut. The brain becomes leaky. So the barrier we have that protects the brain actually becomes leaky, and now the brain doesn't function well. Emotions like anger, fear, anxiety, contribute to this. What are the symptoms of a leaky brain? Foggy thinking, poor concentration, attention deficit, depression, anxiety, irritability, sinusitis, and headaches. Go figure. Okay. we do make neurotransmitters in the gut. Serotonin is an antidepressant. The serotonin in the gut does not pass the brain barrier. However, the blood-brain barrier, the brain is simulating what's going on in the gut. So the brain does make more serotonin. And that's how depression is helped, by having a healthy gut. Okay, sweets, 6 ways to stop hurting your gut. Cut out sweets, stop wine and beer, sleep, antibiotics, minimize those. Okay, enough of that. Again, gut microbes imbalanced, you get obese, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, inflammatory disease. Okay, probiotics have been effective and they have relatively lack of side effects. Why? Because we already have them. You live with them all the time. Okay, this is mice that underwent, we did a transplant, I didn't. The scientists did a transplant from the gut flora, the stool of a mouse that had gastric bypass, put the stool into a regular mouse, and guess what? They actually lost 20% more weight. They inherited the shift that had happened in the gut flora. People with diabetes, cardiovascular disease do have a abnormal shift in the gut flora. Okay, there's your cardiovascular and diabetes. Okay. Hygiene hypothesis, again, suggests a dramatic increase in autoimmune disease because we have reduced our microbes. It is not a good idea to over-sterilize. Germophobia is actually a disease. One of the definitions I had looked up a while ago said the big problem is it prevents people from having a normal social life and beginning to enjoy their life. This mitigation is preventing us from having a normal social life and enjoying our life, which is stressful, which is deadly. You know, the number 1 and 2 causes of death are heart disease and cancer. Both are promoted by stress. Okay. Okay, grass-fed animals are healthier. I'm done with that one. H2 inhibitors, PPIs, change your pH in your gut, and they make you more prone to growing bacteria that normally would have been killed by a healthy pH in your gut. So there's many reasons not to overuse those. I talked about C-section. We are what we eat, and so is our food. Okay. I've said that. This is what I wanted to get to. You may or may not be aware that C. difficile is on the rise. One of the reasons it's on the rise is overuse of antibiotics to where we have very resistant strains. It used to be a disease of the sick. Well, congratulations, it is no longer a disease of the sick. A healthy person can actually get C. diff. We think they're healthy, but they probably have an imbalance in their gut microbes. When it is resistant to treatment, which we're getting more and more that are resistant, 92% of the people resistant are healed by getting a fecal transplant, usually from a loved one in their family. Yep, that's what I said. We're also using fecal transplants to treat type 1 diabetes in children, and they have seen some reversal. That is the power of microbes, especially when you are off. If you correct it, you can get some good health. Eczema is also related to microbial imbalance. As goes the gut, so goes the brain, and by the way, so goes the skin. It's one connected lining. Okay. This is an article that said there's not much difference between taking a probiotic and real food. I am going to disagree. They're different. If you want a super high amount of probiotics, take a probiotic tablet. If you want great diversity, you're going to want real food. And ideally, you're going to have real food that actually was allowed to grow the microbes that was on the food before you started fermenting. And I'm going to go into food, and I'll show you some really good products, especially we here, Rochester, South Bend area is available to us. Okay, so what are the good foods? This is what I cut down dramatically. One, did you know that honey, natural honey, not pasteurized, natural honey, completely different honey. It is naturally antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antivirus. naturally. There, you can actually get honey salves that I use liberally. My children recently told me that from the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, they use Windex for everything. They said Ma uses honey salve. Okay. This shows Manuka honey, which is specifically good for gut health and immune system. So they're not all the same, but they all have some benefits. Bubby's is a sauerkraut, any fermented vegetable that has probiotics, will be found in the fridge because otherwise it'll spoil. So it's got to be in the fridge. Bubby's is a very good brand. It's mild. If you don't like the taste of sauerkraut, you're probably going to like Bubby's because it's pretty mild. This is the treasure chest we have here in our community. In Rochester, there's a farmer, and his product is called Farming for Life. He has over 20 products that he ferments. This happens to be asparagus. It's not sauerkraut. He has several different that have sauerkraut. The asparagus tastes like a garlic pickle. It is absolutely amazing. And why do I like this product? He uses fish emulsion. He just grows incredible organic crops. That's what's mostly in here. So you are getting really healthy start from your vegetables, and you're growing very healthy microbes from the soil that he has produced. This would be a gold mine. How much? Even if you do 2 tablespoons a day, it's good. Yogurt. Now, this is 5%. You do not want fat-free yogurt. You definitely don't want fat-free yogurt with fruit and corn syrup, because now you're growing the sugar-loving bacteria instead of the ones you're interested in. The fat protects the bacteria so it can make it through your acid. All of it doesn't make it through your stomach acid, but the fat protects it. So 2% or 5% is the way to go. I was blessed to be able to go to Greece and Italy. Both places, they use a lot of yogurt, especially Greece. There is no such thing as, would you like fat-free or would you like yogurt? There's yogurt. That's what there is. The only place you'll find the fat-free and the sugar-laden yogurt, which is no longer good for you, is in vending machines in hotels. So 5%. Greek is good. Why? They let their animals grass feed, so it's a better quality. Okay, I talked about Garden Patch will have a lot of these good products. Purple Porch Farmers Market, you probably know some, but those are places that carry them. So there's a variety of foods: miso soup, sauerkraut, healthy dirt, farm, garden. Put your hands in the dirt. Okay, I'm going to go quickly because I actually want to go into soft cheeses. Real cheeses also have a good probiotic source. Okay. Oh, pickles. I will go back to that. Any pickle that is in vinegar does not have probiotics. Vinegar kills it. So if you're going to do a pickle that has probiotic, it's going to have to be in brine, not in vinegar. Vinegar is the end of the probiotics. So if you make sun pickles, no vinegar. Okay, kombucha is a good source. These are prebiotics. And again, the one prebiotic I'm showing is honey. It'll actually help balance out the good bacteria. Yes, honey and lemon. Lemon is high in vitamin C, and hot tea is good for respiratory infections. Because you're naturally killing off the viruses, you're getting vitamin C. The warmth is soothing. It actually makes the mucus a little runnier. Chicken bone broth makes the mucus runnier. That's huge, huge for safety. Okay, I'm gonna skip that in the interest of time. So again, how do you kill off your microbes? You take antibiotics, you take antacids, preservatives, poor sleep, stress.
Awesome. We have a few questions as we wrap up here. So I'll just take this off. I was told I have leaky gut after having a couple tests, such as fecal and blood work. My nutritional values were good despite this, but I was told to move to a paleo non-dairy diet. So are you saying select dairy could be beneficial? I miss my Greek yogurt.
Okay, what I'm telling you is we are not all the same. There's this generic thing where we know these foods have been shown for some people to cause a problem. You have to find out, is that you? So And Greek yogurt, again, you're going to actually be replenishing. Don't get stuff with sugar in it. Get the full fat. How do you know? Try it. Be honest. If you're eating it and now literally you don't feel good, well, you don't feel good. Okay. But if you're eating it, you're totally fine. And whatever other symptom you had with this leaky gut problem, it didn't come back. It's worth it. Now, very important. If it is a food sensitivity, if you lay off of food for 2-3 months, the sensitivity will actually often reverse. I have had people come to my clinic with these lists of tests. They've had tests for the last 5 years. I remember telling one person, so you don't eat, because there was nothing left. And the key is, see, if you lay off of one, if you overeat another, you're going to create a sensitivity. So what's the real thing? Balance. If you have a food sensitivity and you love it, lay off of it for a few months. Yes, lay off of it for a few months. Then reintroduce it in small amounts. I have several that I have totally overcome. And it literally was by cut way back, reintroduce it slowly, and don't ever go back to really eating a lot of it, because you're going to set yourself up. But you live, and it is your choice. So that's the answer. Experts gave you what they know contributes. You have a right to decide and test, is this going to be a problem for me?
Perfect. And just due to time, one more question, and it kind of stems from a question I got this week with a patient. I had a patient and a child with ADD, ADHD, and snoring, suffocation at nighttime, and fragmented sleep, waking up, wetting the bed still, and all that stuff. And the husband, not in a challenging fashion, but in a frustrating fashion, said, if you're so confident this is the problem, why hasn't anyone told me? And so I think a lot of that comes with the gut stuff. And my answer, and I'll let you answer, my answer was, why hasn't anyone told me about this new stuff? And a term my colleague uses, it's not new stuff. I think we're rediscovering stuff. But I don't always have a good answer for why this isn't talked about more and everything.
I told you, I don't believe Hippocrates would claim modern medicine. So the why is pharmaceutical treatment has become the hallmark in all the standards in modern medicine. Why do I do what I do here? I'm a nurse practitioner. I can prescribe. What do I use my prescriptive authority more for? Safely getting you off of meds. That is not, the only way to do it is to create health naturally. We don't know enough about it. When I worked at Elkhart, I was asked to start a lipid clinic, a heart failure clinic, and I talked them into a weight loss clinic. The only clinic that prospered was the weight loss clinic, because that's what people aren't good at. And why does it work here? It is holistic. I'm not as interested in the speed of your loss, even though speed, everyone's happy with. I am interested that you discover and heal the reason you thought obesity was the solution to anything, so that when the weight is finally off, you're able to keep it off. So I want you to get comfortable with yourself. So the answer is, medicine doesn't teach that. And furthermore, I'm not in family practice. When I left Elkhart, I had a choice. That was zero. It wasn't even on my option list. I have zero interest in prescribing most of the day, and I really have zero interest in the time allotments so you can get the insurance payments. So I think medicine has been overregulated and lost. There's little time for humanity unless you have a really good doc, and there are really good docs out there, but they're fighting for their time to take care of you uniquely. And if you don't do what a standard says, you waste your time documenting why you didn't do it. That's what you have to do. It isn't good enough to say the cause you're not doing it. You would have to actually say it. I didn't do it. I didn't do the treatment for this disease because. You have to actually spell out that you knew the standard. What a waste of your time, and what a over control. So medicine's lost that. I think more of it's coming back because it's not working.
I think that's a great point, and this shooting out a message of hope, which is kind of what you led with. So please email in any questions you may have. We'll get them over to Liz, and we'll share this video out so you can share it with your family members and loved ones and such. And so thank you, Liz, for the awesome presentation. I always learn something when you talk. And thank you all for attending, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.